Hello! Okay, I'm going to have to be quick about this. Yes, it's another War Thunder's Ground Forces video. I haven't done any videos in a while, and I really need to explain myself. I got a new headset and microphone because I broke my old one, upgrading my PC. Don't ask me how, but somehow I broke it so that it doesn't work properly. And I have a new headset and a microphone. It is sadly a Turtle Beach headset and microphone, which I got really cheap. That's why I bought it, but it's a Turtle Beach headset. For those who don't know, Turtle Beach are a big seller of headsets, but they primarily seem to focus on the consoles. All their headsets are, in theory, compatible with PC, but they suck with them. I bought one about 4 years ago, 2010, maybe early 2011, with the intention of having a really good high-end wireless headset that will work with both my PC and my Xbox 360, and I wouldn't have to worry about anything ever again, headset or microphone wise, just for gaming at least. It sucked. Actually, for the 360 it was okay, except for the fact that batteries died too quickly, but for the PC it was constantly getting interference and it was dropping me, and it was never solid and useful good. So I gave up on it and just bought a normal gaming headset, cheapy ones, which worked a lot better, but I keep breaking them, and I've gone through quite a few. I bought up a second Turtle Beach headset, really cheap, under the logic that the last one sucked because it was wireless, and wireless headsets tend to suck, and I've heard good words about the wired ones. Sadly, again, they doesn't play nice with PC, particularly running programs while recording. This sounds fine because I'm not running any video games or anything at the moment. I'm running literally just Adobe Premiere, playing the video out while I'm talking so that my voice matches what's going on in the action, but nothing else is playing through, so as a result, nice clear audio. But if I try doing a broadcast while I'm playing, you get this really annoying low rumbling noise that I can't get rid of, and it's particularly bad in menus and so on. But even in gameplay, it's there, it's constant, noticeable. I've gotten used to it while playing and hearing it while I'm on TeamSpeak, but I do get complaints from my clanmates every now and then about it. But if you're not used to it, it's very annoying, and I can't possibly let you guys suffer that. So I'm going to talk about this footage and a bit about Ground Forces as a whole, but you're not going to hear any in-game audio. I recorded me doing a voiceover. I waffled quite a bit like I am right now, and between the fact that it was me waffling and dragging on for ages, and also the fact that, quite simply, the audio quality is terrible, I decided to discard that and do another recording over the footage that I can actually talk you through and not be doing. So I'm in a T-3457. This is Kursk, the brand new realistic battle map. It's big, it's wide, it's what everybody's been asking for, and it goes a long way to resolve a lot of issues, especially if you played in what I'm currently playing, which is Simulator Battle. Simulator Battle, you're locked into a viewpoint that is basically just the view zoomed in above the tank. One quick warning about replays: the overlay for the scope does not show up in replays, so every time you see my camera zooming in like that, that's me actually using the tank scope. And I actually don't see the edges of this, so I'm actually only seeing what's in the middle because it's all blacked out by an overlay. It's not there at the moment, so it might look like I'm cheating, but I'm not. And I've already bug reported this in the close beta, so hopefully it'll be fixed at some point in the future. But until then, do not worry about this. So I am playing a T-3457. Why am I playing a T-3457? Because it's one of the few tanks I still haven't aced. Just nailed myself a Panzer IV there, one-shot it. Just glanced him through the woods there and took the shot. Didn't expect to kill him, but I did. T-3457 is the only T-34 I haven't aced yet, but I actually will ace it at the end of this game. I've aced every German tank in the game. I like my German tanks. I like my Russian tanks, but I've been refraining from playing some of them due to all the balance issues that have been going on with the up and down. I do think the game has finally gotten to a level of balance. I see a Stug ahead of me. I take a shot, and he moves back. So I'll talk about balance and stuff a bit later on, but let's just talk about what's actually going on right now. So it's simulator, so you don't get any on-screen highlights where people is, and you have to judge the ranges yourself, kind of like in realistic battle. The German tanks, particularly the late tier 2 ones, the Stug F2 and Panzer IV F2, they both have better range than the T-34s and the other Russian tanks. But because I've gone up to the left of the map, which is this big plateau, I'm engaging all these tanks at a much closer range. So this Stug is in a bad position in that he has to engage me at a relatively close range. So I actually kill him there, but I actually don't see I kill him. So I'm backing off trying to engage him. I still think he's alive, waiting for him to take a shot at me. I put a shot at him and I'm like, why am I not hitting? Why am I not hitting? I don't see the message saying I've actually already killed him. But yeah, this is a good position to engage a Stug. It's kind of, because at that range it's a lot easier to aim for their weak spots and get those one-shot kills. And a Stug's weak spot is very noticeable. Now I see 2 more tanks up here, and you can see I have a teammate there being engaged by 2 tanks. I don't see the tanks themselves yet, but I see my teammate, and then as I come around here past these trees, I shall see the 2 enemy tanks. They're engaging him, and I shall help him. So it's a Panzer IV F2 and a Stug F2, and they're engaging a teammate. And again, the range is close enough that I'm able to get hits early, and this is kind of where the new dynamic of ground forces is forming. The German tanks, ooh, there we go, nice big explosion, and the Stug beside him, because he's flat on against me, I'll actually get another one-shot kill because I'll hit him exactly at his weak point. Boom! Yeah, Stugs have these 2 weak points on either side of the barrel where the armor is flat. One is for the driver's hatch, the other is for the loaders, where the loader's position is. Putting a piercing shot through either of them does a ton of damage. Through the driver's hatch, you're very likely to actually kill him outright, either by killing his entire crew or setting the ammo off. That is the major disadvantage of the Stug. The advantage of the Stug and the new dynamic is both the Stug F2 and the Panzer IV F2 can easily outrange all the Russian tanks, and you'll see that here. The problem at the moment, though, is I've come up to an area where the Germans have to engage at close range. So the result is I'm dominating. So again, here we go. He's just got crippled, he's repairing, and I got a clear shot of his butt, so I set him on fire. He's already been set on fire once, he's put it out, so he's going to put this one out as well. And I think there's another guy shooting at him, but basically I have the butt shot, so I'm going to take it. And he's turning around to face me, and I'm like, shit. I need to take another shot. I actually aim up a bit to try and jam his turret, and I don't get it, but thankfully the fire finally takes him out there, so I don't need to worry about him. And this area of the map is very much in favour of the Russians. There's a lot of tree cover, it's a high plateau, so the Germans can't just back off and engage at range. They actually have to come up onto the plateau to engage you. And once you've actually secured the plateau, it gives you a nice overlook of the the German spawn, and you can actually try engaging at range. Where the Germans do have the advantage, but you can still engage at some range with some of the Russian tanks, especially the T-34s. You won't do as well in the Su-122, which I'll show later, or the KV-2 at this range. Now, I'm going to fire at the AI here. There's AI tanks in this map. They're kind of cool. They're Tier 3 Panzer IVs, which we don't actually have yet, the H variant. I set one on fire here. And the thing about it is, once you set an AI tank on fire, you get a load of points. So you just leave it. And you can see a shot coming in. There we go. Well outside my range. Stug taking one nice shot at me and nailing me. And that is the German advantage. And it definitely is being learned quickly in Kursk. The problem, though, is Kursk is the only map that has this advantage. And if we get a lot more maps like Kursk in the game, then we will get a nice balance here, a dynamic that I think will extend to all 5 tiers, that the German tanks will always outrange their Russian equivalents, but the Russian tanks will either A, hit harder in the case of the KV-2 and the Su-122, or they're either faster or better armed. Which again, faster in all the T-34s and later the T-44, or better armoured in the case of the IS-2 and the Su series in frontal armour. Now, I might be wrong, maybe the Su-100 and the Su-85 and so on, maybe they'll have the same range abilities as all the German tanks, but they're Russian tank destroyers. I'm talking German standard tanks, the Panther, the Panzer IV, the Tigers. They will always seem to be outranging their Russian equivalent. Sadly, that only kicks in at late Tier 2 Germany. Until then, you have to handle the German short barrels, which are all pretty crap. And I emphasize the word pretty crap. The main problem the German short barrels have is their standard ammo does not penetrate. And at the moment, you do feel underpowered because there is no real matchmaking due to the lack of numbers and so on. Those short barrel tanks should be put up against T-28s and BT-7s and so on, and basically balanced out by the fact that the Russian tanks they're basically swapped very briefly. The Russian tanks have better ranging than the German tanks, but the German tanks either can have better rate of fire or are better armored until they swap around when the T-34 gets introduced, and suddenly the Russian tanks are better armored and faster, and the German tanks turn more to being able to engage a range. But until you get those long barrels, you basically got to unlock heat and then swear by heat, which will make these maps very difficult. And I apologize, that was my phone. Yeah, so that's slightly problematic, but once you hit that nice thing, when you the tier 2, and I'm assuming tier 3 is going to be very similar, German Russia dynamic, it will be a lot more fun, and I think it'll be a lot more balanced. So I've actually won this game pretty much with 7 kills, 6 players and 1 AI, and this match is about to end. We've completely dominated. I'm circling around the final, and I'm going to jump forward now to a game with the SU-122 to show you the difference in sort of what I was talking about, that the Russian tanks, even though they hit a lot harder, are just not as good in range, and you'll see the German tanks basically nailing me at range a lot better than me at them. And I'll show also some Stug gameplay, just showing the reverse. So we're just going to jump ahead to the SU-122. Here it is, and we're off. And as you can see, the SU-122, the main advantage a lot of them seem to have is that you got derp guns, guns that one shot, one kill. And I would say this is a problem with arcade at the moment, in that it's very easy to take a derp gun like the SU-122 out into the game and use the aim assist to one shot, one kill at long range. But in simulator, and to a lesser extent realistic, that is greatly nerfed by the fact that you can't one shot, one kill at long range unless you're very lucky or very skilled. And instead you got to rely on what the gun really did do, which is you hit near the enemy target and you do a ton of damage, but not a killing blow. So you'll see actually in a bit when I get up and I face these 2 Stugs and I fire at range. And the first thing you'll notice when I engage these 2 Stugs is I have to aim a lot higher than them. And then the next thing you'll notice is that not only do I have to aim a lot higher to get the shot, but I have a really long reload time, which puts me in a major disadvantage. But when I shoot, you'll see I actually can do quite a bit of damage, even though without hitting. Now, sadly, in a replay, it doesn't show what damage it did, but that shot there actually put quite a bit of hurt on the Stug. It actually, I think it tracked him, or it hit his radiator, one or the other, but enough that he actually had to stop for a bit. And I'm trying to get the aim on him again. Yeah, I think I hit suspension actually, so he's moving slower. I take a shot here, and again that did damage. I think I killed his commander with that hit, but again it wasn't a direct hit, therefore thing. But you see, because it's that long range, I have to basically lob shots. And Stug, on the other hand, he's just taking shots straight at me, and he's doing a ton of damage because it forces me to repair. And I'm sitting here waiting for a T-34 to come bail me out of this trouble because I'm just getting pounded on. So it's about here now the T-34 arrives to save my ass. But I take another shot. Yeah, here's the T-34. And he covers me while I finally repair and pull out. So take a shot here. Yeah. On another note, the ZIS-30, which is a good German Russian tank for long range. It's actually a heat tank destroyer, but sadly, due to the power of its gun and the light frame, every time you take a shot while in scoped view, it rocks so hard you actually don't know whether you hit anything or not. The SU-122 doesn't have that problem, neither does the KV-2. But the balance between the tanks, though, I'm not as good at range in the Russian tanks, while the German tanks are much better range. I would show you a bit more of the German tanks gameplay, but I've actually aced all the German tanks. I've only left to do tier 2 Russia, and that's kind of what I'm focusing on at the moment, trying to tier up all my tanks to ace level so I can try them all out at the best, and also gives me a chance to try each tank and see weaks and flaws and any bugs or anything to report in. But yeah, I think simulator battles are very balanced. They also deal with aircraft, the fact that it's simulator level, so you get very few pilots because not many pilots fly simulator. I'm actually tempting myself the next time it's open to fly a Stuka in Simulator or an Isle 2 and give it a shot, see how well I do. But Simulator is most balanced. The other two modes, realistic and arcade. Realistic is closer to being balanced. First of all, they introduced a supply point system, which is interesting. Essentially, you get supplies. Oh, I die here. And I make a fatal mistake after I die here. You actually do get respawns with the SU-122, and I forgot. So I take the shot, I overshoot, I start trying to back off, and that damaged my turret and pretty much stalled me out. I think my engine died. You can see I'm trying to move and I can't. And the next shot will kill me. But not from him. Not from him. That one got me. So that's me dead, and I make a fatal mistake. I think that's it, and I leave the game. So instead, I'm going to show you some footage from a Stug gameplay, so you can see the kind of the opposite to what I'm talking about, where you much better range and so on. And also, I make a major mistake. So this is Stug gameplay, and as you can see, I'm in my Stug and I'm driving along. And I make a major mistake right from the outset. I go back to that plateau that I fought at on the Russians. And the problem mistake with that is that plateau is much more in favor of Russian tanks than it is of German tanks. I really should actually have gone to the left more and kept things at range. It's just that plateau, you have to engage at a medium range pretty much to fight. And that hurts me because my first engagement is against a T-34 at medium range, which, as I said earlier, the Stug is disadvantaged at. You need to really engage a T-34 at long range where he cannot get the bead on your weak points at the front, and you can actually hit. But I'll talk about when I get to it. What I was talking about was the balance of the three modes. Simulator is the most balanced. Realistic, with the new supply point system, is getting there. It's not perfect. There's a lot of debate about whether we should have respawns or not. I can go either way. I like respawns sometimes. Like, it makes the game feel bigger because it lasts longer and it's more thing. At the same time, I could go without respawns because I don't think it's as needed as we think. I think if you're having maps like Kursk and you turn off the spotting system, or at least tone it down massively, you don't need a respawn, because the moment the respawn is meant to balance out heavy tanks versus medium tanks versus light tanks and versus aircraft. Put simply, all tanks need a respawn except for maybe heavy tanks, because when you spawn in, you're highly likely to get bombed very early in the map by someone flying a heavy bomber who could just code an area of the map knowing where you'd probably be and get themselves a kill, and that's a bit unfair. So that's the first reason for respawns. The second reason for respawns is to balance out someone running a King Tiger versus someone in a T-34-85. I understood that, and I can somewhat understand, but I don't think it's necessary anymore. When it was maps like Karelia and to a lesser extent Kuban and definitely Ash River and Jungle, I could understand that logic, because there are a lot of bottlenecks there and choke points that pretty much forces you to fight a heavy tank. And with a medium tank, you have no way of countering that, and you get dicked on. But on a map like Kursk, I'll be honest, I don't think it's as necessary. I think if a lot of maps go the way of Kursk, even just keep the size, even if it's not as open, like if it's like a Bocage or something, I think it would still work with just one respawn, purely on the logic that what I've seen in this map is if you're in a medium light tank, you head up to this plateau. What's with my pronunciation today? You head up to this plateau and boom, you have somewhat an advantage at in engaging some tanks of the same caliber. But I fucked up that. No, if you're a medium light tank, you want to avoid this plateau because you're forced into a medium close combat range. If you're Russian, you want to be up here. And here's that T-34 I'm fighting, because here the T-34 can aim at my weak points, which is forcing me every time I shoot to immediately angle myself to avoid him hitting that weak point straight on. So I'll fire here and I'll jam his turret, and then I immediately angle and take the shot, straighten up again, and re-aim. Now, and that's kind of my tactic for dealing with it. I don't actually kill this T-34, a teammate does, but I bollocks his vertical drive, and I think this shot here, I bollocks his suspension, forcing him to fight the angle again to try and deflect the shot. It was a bit late that time. Thankfully, though, he didn't hit anything. So he backs away from me because he's hurt, but he actually backs into a teammate who is flanking him. But yeah, this plateau favors the Russians, and it favors both Russian heavies and Russian medium because it's at the moment because it's close medium. But I imagine when the game goes all tiers and you get tier 3 Germany and you get the Tiger tank and so on, and you get the Russian IS-1, I imagine this plateau being a heavy tank fight fest. And I would favour heavy tanks, but I imagine the far side of the battle will favour a lot medium tanks because basically you want to force the heavy tanks to try and engage you at long range, where their chances of missing are higher and they take longer reloads, and you can stop, shoot, move, stop, move, stop, shoot, move, and so on, and hopefully deal a decisive blow. But it's open to flanking, and having an open map like this, or just a map of this size where you could be in a lot of different areas, I think you don't need respawns. Saying that, the respawns is also there to deal with aircraft, and the problem at the moment with aircraft is that they get to the battlefield too quickly and deal too much of a decisive blow, and you can't really nerf that in the way of toning down the decisive blow. And that's kind of it. I mean, you can't nerf that. So that's why I think they have the respawns, is more the aircraft than anything else. I don't think it's the heavy, medium, light problem. I think it's the aircraft. I also think they don't need it because in realistic, at least, on a map this size, it takes quite a while to actually get the planes to the from the airfield to the battlefield. And a map this size, it doesn't have obvious choke points. So the bombers are more likely to go for where the AI tanks the situation. If the human players have moved off to the side like I have here, you're less likely to be bombed. Now, that's not to say you won't be bombed. I have been bombed. I've been bombed quite a bit in this, but it hasn't been the same as it was in earlier tests when we've had Karelia or Jungle or something, where you've been bombed just after spawning and you're gone to the obvious, well, not the obvious, but you're trying to cross that bridge in Jungle where pretty much you could only be in one place, and an IL-2 has come in and just strafed the entire area with rockets and got you and a teammate. Or you're trying to capture a domination point, and because you're capturing a domination point, they know where you are. And you can fix that purely by maps like this. It takes longer to get to the battlefield, and when you get there, there are no obvious points to look. You need to rely on a teammate to spot for you, and all the time you're very clear in the sky. And what I would almost say is, at the moment, bombers spawn over the airfield, fighters spawn on the airfield. My suggestion, which I will be putting up on the forums, is push the bomber spawn point back, so to the point that fighters can get up and reach the battlefield before bombers. Because you could do 100 other you could do 100 other incentives to get people to actually use bombers correctly, go for bases and so on. But the truth of the matter is, no matter how many incentives you put in, and I know Jingles has talked about this in one of his videos, no matter how many incentives you put into attack bombers or defend bombers or whatever to do with bombers, nothing beats dicking on people. Everybody loves dicking on people. To put it simply, players are by default dickheads, and we like dicking on people. And you can't get around that. So as you can see here, I'm trying to dick on this KV2, and I just cannot get a shot that'll actually kill him. I'm switching between high explosive, anti-tank, and armor piercing, trying to get a killing blow, and I never will. I'll actually chase this guy right to the end of the game and never get a killing blow. And that's kind of depressing, but at the same time, it's a lot better than it used to be. I mean, the KV2, he can't hide in Simulator, but he can't engage at range. So I actually badly screwed this guy over. Easily. because I could outrange him and I could and I have the element surprise. But also he sticks out like a sore thumb, which is rather funny. Going back to the bombers, you're going to get in trouble with players taking their bombers and going straight to bombing human tank players, regardless if you put 100 grinding bonuses. If they go for base instead, they're going to want to go to kill enemy players because it's funnier, it's more fun, it's more tactile. You get the response, you get people complaining, you get people bitching, you get the satisfaction that you've beaten someone. You're not beating the computer, you're beating someone. So I think it's a much simpler solution is put the bomber spawn point back far enough that it takes bombers long enough to get to the battle that anyone who is spawned in a fighter would have spawned ahead of the bombers and would have gotten at a good altitude over that battlefield well before the bombers arrive. And I think that might help. Because the main thing I've noticed about Kursk is you get a lot less problems with bombers initially because it takes them longer to get there. But once they get there, they are the usual trouble they are. But if you actually have it that they take so long to get there that by the time they get there, the tanks have already engaged in combat. But not only that, but they got fighter cover. Less of a problem. Not perfect fix, but it could work. So I start chasing this KV2. Like a nice shot on him here, I think. Killed his commander with that shot. And then I start chasing him. Oh no, I can't initially because I have to wait for the my tracks repair. I got set on fire a bit earlier and someone's taking pot shots at me. What else to talk about? Yeah, so realistic, still not perfectly balanced there. The supply point system kind of works, kind of doesn't work. It's a lot stricter in this latest iteration than it was. You can actually get it if you take out 2 heavy tanks and get only 1 or 2 kills. That you don't have enough points to respawn and you're out of the game. Which happened to me recently and it was very interesting. The contrast is arcade at the moment is still 1 spawn and that everybody hates it, but arcade is easily the most unbalanced of the 3. It's easily the most unbalanced, and that's purely down to spotting and aim assist. Even without the fact they've got aircraft disabled, they got respawns disabled and all that, it's still the most unbalanced of the 3 because aim assist. It allows tanks like the KV2 and the SU-122 to engage at ranges they don't normally at and be accurate as hell. And on those small maps, it makes them into the derp guns that people hate and people bitch about. And realistic and simulator are much improved over it. I would argue that the aim assist needs a massive reworking in some manner or form. I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, this KV2 is about to die here. I think simulator is great. I think realistic is improving. I think arcade is still a pile of dog crap. I think even if they return planes back on everything, it's still going to be a massive problems. And the problem there is they have to resolve it because arcade is the most popular mode in War Thunder. Sadly. Even though realistic is a lot more exciting and a lot more fun, in my opinion. Arcade is where all the action is, and unless they fix it, there's nothing's going to be done about it. And they're going to keep fixing it, and War Thunder may live or die based on how well arcade does. In the end, I say, I don't know what to say. I'd almost actually, KV2 goes down. I'd actually almost say, let the KV2 SU-122 not have aim assist markers because they're howitzers. That might help. Or turn down the accuracy of the aim marker. Actually, that's it. If you actually play the aircraft version of War Thunder, this game's actually over now. We've killed all the enemy players. We just got to capture the points. I'm heading in to do that. But if you've actually played the aircraft version of War Thunder, you would have noticed that the lead indicator on the aircraft isn't accurate. It isn't. It's actually, I think it's marked for machine guns, particular, I think the 50 cals. So it's accurate with the 50 cals, but it's not accurate with cannons. You actually got to shoot ahead of the actual aim marker, where the aim marker is telling you to shoot, to actually hit a lot of the time. And I think that is what the fucking ground forces need. They need that the aim marker that you're using to shoot should give you more of an estimate ranging rather than the accurate ranging that it does. And that will go a big way of fixing a lot of the problems in arcade, because that will make it that you can, like in War Thunder aircraft, where certain cannons are more accurate than others when using them in conjunction with the aim marker. I know that the German 20 mils and definitely the German 30 mils, you got to lead more than you do with 50 cals and with the 13 millimeters, and that's even with the aim assist in the arcade mode. And that is pretty much it. You need that in that. My Irish accent's coming through like a fucking boss today. You need something like that in ground forces. You needed that the aim assist for the KV2 and the SU-122 isn't that accurate. It's accurate to an extent, but the player needs to do some kind of math in his head to work out where to adjust to, so that someone who is skilled at doing that can still get the kills and still boss it out with the KV2, but they're going to get it wrong a few times, especially if they're trying to shoot a moving target at long range. Well, long for arcade sense. That will go a long way to fixing. I heard teammate taking a shot at the aircraft there, and I think I'd take a shot as well and completely miss. Well, not completely. I shot down a fucking what was it? A flying boat, a Russian Catalina, with my Panzer IV in a previous game. Sadly, I didn't get a replay of that, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, tweak down the aim assist. That'll help a lot with War Thunder ground forces. Also, tweak down fucking, and I don't know. That's pretty much it. But yeah, at the moment, if you get in the ground forces, which is quite easy now because it's €20 for the introduction tank pack, which will get you 2 tier 1 premiums, which you really need for Germany. You need to use a tier 1 premium in Germany to get out of tier 1 as quickly as possible into late tier 2 for €20, and it also gets you 2 weeks of premium and 2,000 gold. That's actually quite a bit. You can use that quite extent, and so I do recommend picking that up if you're interested. Just remember, the closed beta isn't open the whole time. It's open for a set amount of hours per day, usually from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. GMT, so that's UK time, and Irish time, and Western, well, yeah, UK and Ireland time, and maybe Spain is GMT as well. I'm not sure, maybe that's a bit off. But yeah, they'll get it that time, and then it's also about a 1 a.m. to 7 a.m, which obviously, unless you're nocturnal like me, you won't be playing at. Yeah, so that's a big warning. But once you get into it, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot more balanced than it used to be, and I do think we are on the precipice of them adding in the tier 3 tanks. I think they're adding in a new tier each month. So if you want to give my estimate guess of when ground forces will go public, I would say no earlier than late June, because they'll add tier 3 for April, tier 4 for May, and they'll do tier 5 in June, and it'll be late June, early July at the earliest. So if you think you can't wait till late June or early July, I'd say pick it up now. €20 at the moment. It's at the best it's been in forever, and it's well balanced. The Germans now can actually hold their own against the Russians. The Panzer IV F2 is a force to reckon with, and it's a lot of fun. I do recommend giving it a try, and I'm going to call it there. Hopefully it should all level out okay, and I'll get this whole mic issue fixed.